Good day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan Battle video. In this video we are going to be taking a look at the Ultimate Clash. So this is obviously the Virtual Dokkan Ultimate Clash, and as always we're going to take on the final fight and then recount all of the different bosses that you face and which teams are used. This is a free to play friendly build, and if you need more help on team building, I have a link in the top right hand corner. But the Mega Shenron, he's immune to stunning and sealing, attack lowering, defense lowering, and you'll lock your units into place. He also hits relatively hard. I think he hits around 300 or 400,000 with the super attack, so he's pretty tough. We're going to be using a completely free-to-play team for this stage, and most of the other stages I have majority free-to-play teams, and I'll run through those when we get there. In terms of this team build, we're using obviously the free-to-play Ginyu Force. We have one non-free-to-play unit in the form of the Sin Shenron, because he is a 100% physical type lead. You could also use any other physical typing lead if you want to, but I like Sin Shenron just because. And then the rest of the team we built pretty understandably. We've got the LR Master Roshi for his revive skill. It's very crucial to this free-to-play run. We then also have the LR Goku, also a unit that does some pretty big damage, obviously super duper helpful. And then we have Krillin, not so great in terms of damage or output or anything. Decent starting defense for Ultimate Clash, and also of course fulfills the Turtle School requirement that we desperately need, for the Master Roshi revival. That's kind of the big mechanic here. And then of course also we have the LR Great Saiyaman 1 and 2, a fantastic unit that provides defense to the majority of our rotation. Also just a very solid unit stat wise. We inflate our health and that with a lot of stats, like with a lot of LR stats, because that's what's going to help us to stay alive. Because generally speaking, the biggest issue you face when facing a Mega Shenron is a unit being locked into place, and then all of a sudden they take a super attack that they're not supposed to. The majority of our units have decent start of turn defense. They won't get all our health taken away from a super attack, although they won't help us either. Like Krillin takes 166k, it's obviously a decent chunk. But most of them restore defense after they get supered as well. A big problem that Omega Shenron poses a lot of people is the fact that he also lowers attacking, or he lowers defense on his super attack as well, which causes you a bunch of issues when you obviously try to push forward with your team, as your units will have less defense the next turn, which is always a little bit of a issue. I want to say it's not a huge one, but it is a little bit of an issue. Fortunately, we have the revive skill here, so we're pretty solid from that perspective. We can, get taken out and then come back with a little bit more health, and just basically reset a little bit, which is always obviously good. Ideally, Captain Ginyu would have got his attack off before super attacking, and then we would have had like a full turn of attacks before dying. But getting the revive is also fine. It just allows us to reset. Master Roshi gets the revive. We manage to set ourselves back up, and we can take everything from there. If you are looking to build for a Mega Shenron, generally speaking, you just want to build a good all-around team that generally has a decent start of turn defense, and you should be okay. It's more a DPS race than it is to be defensively secure. As long as you're doing quite big attack stats or getting decent crits or things like that, then you shouldn't really have the world's biggest issue in terms of handling a Mega Shenron. Now, of course, that's not to guarantee anything, but you should generally be quite safe with this team build. Obviously, you can see it does take a fair chunk of damage, but for the most part, we handle everything quite fine. We do have a backup physical team. As always, I suggest for the final phase you take 2 teams of different typings, so that if the first team fails, you have a backup team. Obviously, if your first team does the majority of the damage, then that's great. The second team only really has to come in to clean up, and that's obviously a pretty good situation to be in. But yeah, overall, It is definitely, quite a challenge. I think this is the final time we face Omega Shenron. But yeah, it's definitely quite rough. It is quite a tough, event. And I think for the most part, most players will struggle with it. But it's nice to show that there are free-to-play options. Now, obviously, some free-to-play options are actually harder to get than actual standard options that you can get from a summon. So don't try and copy these teams exactly and think that this is the team you need to use or that it's easy to get. For the most part, try and substitute summonable units in where you can. Try and use better leader skills where you can. Try and use your stronger units where you can. Generally speaking, that's going to be a lot better for you than trying to run this exact team, because I have these units because I've been playing for a very, very, very long time. But getting a unit like the Easy 8 Physical Ginyu Force actually requires you to beat Ultimate Clash. So it's one thing to say use them, and it's another thing to actually have them easy aid and usable. So just keep that in mind when you are doing these events. It's very important to take notes of, but it is obviously just nice to show that, as an option you can use them. Goku's active skill comes in handy, as you can see, doing some pretty good damage, and we managed to finish off Omega Shenron. So that is Ultimate Clash done. What I'll do now is I will recap all of the bosses slowly, one by one, and we'll just discuss very briefly what I use to take on each team, what's not free to play, what is, and just the bosses in general. So yeah, obviously we start with the Invisible Man. He has a very high chance of evasion, and he's immune to stunning. As always, my strategy here is just to use one unit. Generally I use the LR Bardock unit because of their decent base stats, gives us a bit more health, and you should be able to take him out with just the Cybermen. It saves your whole team. Then, on the second phase, we use a strength team. Nothing special about Ake, is just immune to stunning. And here, most of them are free to play, except for the Cell and the Omega Shenron. You can replace them with pretty much any 100% strength lead. Then we take on Thouser. He is immune to stunning and sealing. He can also fire multiple super attacks. Here, again, also replace SSBE Vegeta with a free-to-play or 100% lead unit, and you should be fine. Ribriand into one's quite common. You can get it with redstones. Then we take on Supreme Kai. Here, there's one or two non-free-to-play AGL units. You're generally okay. The AGL free-to-play units have great stats, so you shouldn't have too many issues. Then Trunks, this one was quite challenging. You'll notice that we use at least 3 non-free-to-play units here. Generally speaking, it was quite tough. Golden Frieza is a very good unit for this, and I would suggest using him. Then we have Vegeta. Vegeta obviously is the ability to launch 2 super attacks. You want to bring a sealer here. There is no real free-to-play strength sealer, so I had to use the Chi-Chi unit. Then we take on the Cell's second form. He's obviously immune to sealing, but he's not immune to stunning. You want to stun him. The Boo or the Babidi and the Bura LR unit is great here. They helped out a massive amount. Then we have the Goku. So we have the Tech Goku. We obviously took him out with the majority in team. Only the 2 leads are not free to play because you need at least 100% lead. But both of them are pretty decently old units that you could have got with the redstone, so you shouldn't really have too many issues. Then we took on Piccolo. This one actually took a really long time, but we did manage to do predominantly free to play. You really need to keep up the sealing, so you need to make sure that Master Roshi and Tien really get their seal off. If you have a second sealer, it's going to make your life a lot easier, so try and bring 2. It just makes life way easier. And then obviously Omega Shenron, you guys just saw. And that's pretty much it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you need any more help on Ultimate Clash, you can watch my previous ones, or you can obviously just check the top right hand corner. But thanks so much, and see you next time. Bye.